Hey, everybody. What's going on? And welcome to a brand new episode of the Touchdown Talk with Pablo and Chris. My name's Chris. And on the other side of me here, if you're watching this, is Mr. Pablo Martinez. Pablo, you're on mute. How the heck are you? You're on mute.
Good morning, Chris. Good
There you
morning,
go.
everybody. Thanks for the heads up there. I didn't realize the mute button was still hit. I'm doing excellent. Week 15 is here. It's playoff season. Right now, it's playoff time.
It's playoffs.
That's right. So we're excited. We worked all season long to get here, and here we are. And we've got some really exciting fantasy football matchups to go through today because it's now or never. These are the weeks where you either come up big or pack it up.
Yes. Josh Parr already checking in with, oh yeah, Pablo McPablo face. Yes, it is. This is it. This is what we work all season for, to get into the playoffs and get into championship contention and win it all. So this is everything we've been talking about. So of course, as we do the show, as we always do, we go through both the leagues that we're involved in, that Pablo and I are both in. The League of Extraordinarily Mediocre People, which is the LOEMP League, and the Dirt Invitational. Of course, if you are looking for any fantasy advice, start sits, any of that stuff, feel free to chat with us. This is a crucial week. It's a do or die for anybody that's in playoffs. Win and you're in and you keep going, or lose and pack your bags and go home, and you're maybe playing in a consolation round. And I would also love to hear from you guys too. Like, do you guys have sort of a loser bowl or last place, or is there a Sacco award? Like, what do you guys do? Would love to hear about that as well as we go through today. I know in the Dirt Invitational, as we've been talking about for anybody that's been following the show and listening, in the Dirt Invitational, we have what's called the Toilet Bowl. And that is usually the bottom four in contention for that. And whoever finishes last in that wins the coveted, or not so coveted, I should say, poop trophy, which is, there's a picture of it right there on screen if you're watching us. So to be proudly displayed all season long. In the LOMP League, though, there is no penalty at the moment. We still got to work on that, but yeah, there's no penalty for coming in last place right now, other than, which actually is kind of like, if you hit last place, because we draft where we finish in this league. So if you finish in last place, yeah, you get to pick last, but you also get to pick first in the first round. So it's actually not that bad in the second round. I mean, you get to pick first in the second round. That's actually not so bad.
It isn't really, but we should come up with some kind of reward for coming in last. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something fun and exciting to make it interesting throughout the consolation bracket playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And then real quick, if anybody wants to call in today, because hey, whether you got questions, you want to call in, if you're in one of these leagues and you want to harass, you're in playoffs and you want to smack talk, whatever it is, let's try to keep it a little clean, but call the hotline 862-243-2064. That's 862-243-2064 is our direct hotline to the Touchdown Talk. All right, Pablo, let's dive in. So where do you want to start? We were talking about starting with the Dirt League, but would you want to talk any stats? Do you want to talk any standings? Where do you want to begin today?
Let's go through that. So real quick, just to recap on our picks, your picks and my picks for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Last week we went 9 and 8 each.
Ooh.
I hit 9, you hit 8.
Nice.
So that brought our grand total to another tie. We ended the regular season tied at 97 correct.
Wow.
Picks apiece.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's pretty good. We did well. We've got some more playoff picks to make now going forward.
Yeah.
And let's see what happens between the two of us over the last 3 weeks here.
Yeah, let's do it. And at least for me, I'm in both. Fortunately, I made it in. I squeaked into the playoffs in both leagues. Pablo, you managed to get into one of them, which is great. So we are at least in the playoffs. So it's good that the hosts of the actual Touchdown Talk actually made playoffs.
Yes, no, that's great. But and even if even in the league that I didn't, it's still kind of cool and fun to,
of course,
to look at it, break it down, analyze. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for my playoff opportunity, and in that one league, and for both of your participations in both of our leagues that we'll get into shortly. Yeah, we got a brotherly love playoff matchup right out the gate in the Dirt League.
We do. So let me bring that up so that way we can talk intelligently about today's matchups. So let me get that up. Coming up right and now. So for those of you watching live, of course, we always share our screen here, and you can see what's going on in these leagues. These leagues are also public. So we are on Yahoo Fantasy. So if anybody wants to follow along with us, just look up Dirt Invitational and the LOEMP League. So if you do want to follow along, if you're that locked in on what we're doing for our fantasy purposes. But all right, so let's look at how this shook out as far as standings go and who locked up what. In number one spot, no surprise there. Bodie McBoatface finished the regular season at 12-2. I did manage to steal one, so I notched the. It was a meaningless game, but it was just more about like just notching that 2 in there. Number 2, your team, my friend, locked in at the number 2 spot. Uruguay at 10-4. Moose Knuckles at number 3 with 10-4 record. My team, the Killer Beers, with a 9-5 record. Swift Kick of Love, which is owned by my brother Kevin Vaglio, at 8-6, and Sharkbait at 7-7. And then the 7th spot, Primo de las Matador. Number 8, Manja, as last year's champ, falling short this year at a 6-8 record. Sorry about that, Viv.
Sorry,
it's
champ.
tough. It's tough. It's hard to repeat. It's hard to repeat. And no shame.
Yeah, not every year could be a championship year, right?
That's right. And after last year, where she won 4 championships, she got it out of her system.
That's right. It needs to balance out.
That's right. There's always next year. And
right.
now in our bottom 4, right? In our bottom 4, vying for contention in the toilet bowl to not be the winner of the poop trophy, we have the Sicilians at number 9. Show Me Your TDs at 4-10. At the 10th spot, number 11, Ginger Ninja, who did crawl out of the last place spot at 4-10. So hopefully she can keep her winning ways going and not get the poop trophy. And then right now, in last place, BMF at 3-11 on the season.
Yeah, it's actually all 6 teams at the bottom are in contention for the trophy.
Thank you for the correction. All 6 teams.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. For
BMF in deep trouble here with 6 losses in a row to end the regular season. So he's got some challenges ahead with these playoff games. Ginger Ninja. So the way we work the consolation bracket is the bottom 2 teams get a bye, so that they don't get the opportunity, for everybody listening here to catch up. They don't get the opportunity to get a win and exit the bracket, as in these playoff games in the consolation, in the toilet bracket. The team that loses continues to advance until we get to the Super Bowl, and the team that loses that one is awarded the trophy. So BMF and Ginger Ninja both get a bye. Ginger Ninja just a few points shy of being able to get out of that 11th spot, but didn't exactly make it. So that draws up our current playoff matches to show us that this week for the consolation, we've got Manja going up against the Sicilians, the number 8 seed versus the number 9 seed. And the number 7 seed, Prima de los Matador, going against the number 10 seed, Show Me Your Touchdowns.
All right.
Now at the top half, do you want to go over the playoff matchups there? Yeah.
I'll scroll up top here. So here is what we've got going on here in what Yahoo calls as a championship bracket. And here's the matchups for this week. So we got Killer Beers, which is my team, versus a Swift Kick of Love, my brother's team. So yes, we have the Brother Bowl Part 2. This is for, obviously, to stay alive in the playoffs. Both of us very evenly, the projections are even right now at my 145.67 to his 148.83, 12 and a half points put up on the board already by Swift Kick of Love from the other night. And then in the other matchup, we've got Moose Knuckles, the number 3 team, the number 3 spot at 10-4, versus Sharkbait at 7-7, who's in the number 6 spot. The number 1 and number 2 seeds get a bye week. So my friend, Uruguay, he gets to have a rest week.
That's right.
And so does Bodie McBoatface as the first place seed. both of you guys on rest weeks, bye weeks, as you await your opponents to move into championship rounds.
That's it. There's still, you know what? Even though I don't have anything to worry about this week, or all of those of us who did get a bye, we're lucky enough to get a bye, don't have much to worry about. It's still a very interesting time to play the game actively. Like, look out at your waiver wire, check out to see who's available, what injuries have come up. We've lost some starting tight ends on different teams.
Yeah.
My team happened to lose one right here. So even though I did get a bye, you still have to pay attention and stay on top of your team.
Yep.
Because you're those of us who did get a bye, we're shooting for next week for week 16, but you can start now. You don't have to wait until all of the Monday games are over to start seeing who you want to add on your team. So looking more closely now at the actual matchups that we're going to be breaking down. The Killer Beers facing a Swift Kick of Love. I think that's going to be a really, really great matchup to look at. Both of these games have already gone underway with some Thursday night activity that we had between the Rams, the LA Rams, and the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, which was kind of a game. I mean, I didn't actually even watch the whole thing. I started watching it, and that was a very weird game. Very low scoring, only 6-12.
No touchdowns.
Like a baseball score.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Yeah, nothing but field goals. But it happens in football sometimes.
Does happen.
And a Swift Kick of Love with 12.5 points on the board right here for fantasy, but a very, very, very close projection. It started off close. It's still close. Nothing crazy happened due to having no touchdowns during the game.
Right.
So we're still looking at a very, very evenly balanced matchup here between you and your brother.
Yeah. No, we are. And I got to tell you, I just, I mean, if I wasn't playing this game in this matchup, I would actually have a really hard time picking the winner of this one. Like, this is really, honestly, I think this comes down to a coin flip. It just really, I mean, it's so evenly matched. It's like which player or players on each side is going to have a really breakout game. And I think that's going to be the real deciding factor here. Who's going to have the big game out of these players that will really help kind of get the edge on the team? Because I do feel like this is going to be close scoring the whole time, the whole way through. I don't think it's going to come down to stat corrections. I hope it doesn't come down to stat corrections. I mean, I would like a decisive win, but I do feel like it's going to be close, and I feel like it's going to, come down to those couple big-time playmakers on either side. I am hoping, since it is my team, I am hoping to get a good showing out of Baker. I want good Baker to show up. Mike Evans, I know, has been fighting through some injury stuff, so he's playing, but I'm hoping he really comes through. And, of course, a big game by Jamar Chase would be astronomical for me right now. And then also the same thing, I love Brock Bowers, but the fact is that, you still got the rookie there throwing darts. So, I don't know what's going to happen there. But, Tua's been good as of late. Need him to keep on that roll. Nice big game out of JSN. Jackson Smith-Nigba would be great. And I did go ahead and pick up the Jets defense this week. And while the Jets, haven't been the powerhouse defense that they were the last couple of years, they are playing Jacksonville. And Jacksonville is pretty bad. And they're even worse than the Jets and the Giants, I think. Maybe the Giants are worse than the Jags. I don't know. I think they keep flip-flopping as who's the worst. But I do feel like the Jets can go in and get it done as far as defensively goes. So I'm hoping for some big points out of my D this week. So, but I would love to hear from your perspective, Pablo, as a non-partisan and objective viewer to this. Would love to get your reaction to this matchup and your overall projections.
Well, I do think that you guys are going to have a tough fight here. It is super close. You've both got some strong plays, but also some players that are maybe not the studs that you would typically want to start in a playoff match. Right. I'm looking at some of those big players that, like you mentioned, Jamar Chase. This is when you need him to show up.
Yeah.
This is when you're going to need that Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans connection to really be electric. Devon Achane cannot take a week off this week. You need him in there, and you need him strong. Brock Bowers, you were talking about him earlier. I think that the quarterback change here, we're looking at Aiden O'Connell if he's healthy enough, or he's going to have Desmond Ridder throwing him the football. Unfortunately for Brock Bowers, I think that's a downgrade.
Big time.
Either way,
I agree.
Yeah. And that's not what you wanted in a playoff matchup.
And I do on my bench. Oh, now he's listed as out. So forget it. I had Everett Ingram on my bench, now listed as out. So that's not happening. So I was like, I didn't even realize they marked him out. So
that's one of the tight end plays that I was mentioning earlier that were ruled out. Him and David Njoku, both big tight end opportunities that normally you would want to start every week.
Yep.
Both out this week due to injury.
Yeah, and that Njoku and Jameis Winston connection in the other league has been key for me over the last few weeks. So that hurts big time against, when we'll get into there, but Charlie McDonough is one of the big time scorers in our league, but we'll wait till we get to that one. But yeah, that one's hurting.
Yeah, I do like the Jets defense start here. I think them going into Jacksonville against a Mac Jones led team will be a good spot for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're Antler Wound here.
Yeah, rocking for those of you not watching, Pablo's rocking the Antler Wound t-shirt today.
Love me some Rudolph's Revenge.
That's right. Josh Parr, check it in. Sporting the Antler Wound t-shirt available on Spotify and all the streaming platforms now. Anywhere you stream music. Don't worry, we'll be playing a little Antler Wound at the end of this show today.
So, and on your brother's side, going back to this matchup, he's got his normal starters. He's looking at Drake London, David Montgomery. He just picked up Jalen Warren and threw him right into his lineup.
I know, and he and I were both contending for him on waiver wire. Obviously, my brother won out on that one, and I was hoping to pick him up.
Yeah, he was typically starting Breece Hall, but Breece Hall didn't play last week. Probably might not play this week. Even if he does, he hasn't been somebody that you really are excited to start, unfortunately. So yeah, Jalen Warren it is. I mean,
listen, you got the guy is a good running back, good enough, serviceable, but other than top of that, he's a good receiver. He can catch the ball. So I think that makes him, which is why I wanted to get him too. I'm like, that's a guy that can definitely get you points when you need them, especially in playoffs here.
Yeah. One of the most interesting matchups I think I like that I'm looking at within the two spots that you have here is in the flex position. You've got Jackson Smith and Jigba, and your brother's starting Adam Thielen. Thielen had a really good game last week.
He had a great game last week.
He had a really good game the week before. So, he's definitely not a spring chicken, a young guy that's going to beat anyone out there on a foot race. But the dude knows how to move. He knows how to play. And Bryce Young is starting to take advantage of that a little bit more now. It's a little late in the season, but it's good to see that connection. And for fantasy purposes, I think he's going to help your brother out a lot this week.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely a scary one for me, seeing that. I need JSN to really have a nice game on Sunday night. I need him and Gino to have a really good connection. So again, going and playing Green Bay, and going into the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. I just need that to happen. I need those points.
And he's been doing well. JSN's been averaging above 50 yards every week, sometimes over 100. So I would expect this week to be another good week for him. So yeah, keep your hopes up, man. I think this is looking good for you.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a fun one to watch all day long. And I think too, I don't think he does have we both have a Monday night matchup. Okay. So yeah, he's got Drake London going for Monday night, and I of course right now have Brock Bowers going. So I think I guess things, depending on how this shakes out, may not be decided until definitively after Monday night, depending on how close it is.
I would think that that Monday night game will probably have some more points to bring to the table to help finish deciding which of the two Vaglios will make it into the top 4, into the semifinals of the Dirt Invitational League playoffs.
Yep, absolutely. So there you go, guys. So let us know if you're watching and listening. Let us know who your pick would be in this matchup: the Killer Beers or a Swift Kick of Love. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Now, Pablo, where is your expert pick lying this week as far as who is coming out victorious in the Brother Bowl? And don't feel pressured because I'm your co-host.
Well, so it's razor thin. I think it could really literally go either way.
Yeah, it's close,
so it's
man.
a super hard one to pick. Yes, but I'm gonna go with my co-host. I'm gonna say that the Killer Beers, with an awesome Murphy's Law logo and team name, will come out on top this week.
All right, and I'm gonna agree with you because once again, I'm not gonna buck the tread. I've picked myself each and every week, even against the steepest adversity. It's playoffs. I'm going in, positive mental attitude. I'm going to win this one. Let's go.
There you go.
So there it is. Official picks are in. Both of us have chosen Killer Beers to move on and for Swift Kick of Love to get a swift kick out of the playoffs. All right. Bad dad jokes here. All right, guys. All right, let's look at our other playoff matchup in this league. We've got Moose Knuckles versus Sharkbait. And right now, how it stands is Sharkbait is the projected favorite in this one, according to Yahoo, by 134.78 to 155.34. And I really feel like the only reason why the projections are honestly that high is the fact that Sharkbait had a couple players. He got a combined 19 points. Moose Knuckles, Cooper Kupp. This is got to be one of the most shocking things, right? Cooper Kupp, 0 points.
Yeah.
0.0. And then Jawan Jennings only putting up 4 points out of his 2 number 1 receivers. Just not what you want going into playoffs where your top 2 wide receivers, goose eggs and 4 points. Not good.
No.
Sorry. It's playoffs. You know, got to do the effects for playoffs.
For sure. There were 2 good bets to start Cooper Kupp and Juwan Jennings.
I would have started them. Absolutely. You don't not start. You have to. You gotta. I mean, yeah, that's but this is what happens. It just you never know, and unfortunately, this is what you got. And it stinks. It really sucks. I'm just gonna say it sucks. It totally sucks.
Whenever you get a donut in a playoff matchup, it's devastating. But to get it from one of your stud guys, that's one of the guys that you were counting on to have a high floor.
Yeah.
That's not good. And the other wide receiver didn't really make up for it. He also had a bad game. So yeah, poor Moose Knuckles here is off to a very poor start. 4 points on two of his strongest fantasy options. And on the other end, he lucked out a bit that Kyron Williams had a decent game.
Yeah.
But didn't really, there weren't any touchdowns. So that definitely benefited Moose Knuckles. It kept Kyron Williams' ceiling a little capped. He only got to 11.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been a lot worse. He went over 100 yards. He definitely could have had a much bigger game. But that's why the projections are the way they are right now. Moose Knuckles projected for 134, Sharkbait for 155. And Moose Knuckles is going to have a lot of work to do here in the rest of his fantasy matchups. He has great players. They can get it done. But he's gonna need one of those Jameis Winston games that really pop. He's now going to definitely need it. And going
into Kansas City.
And he's got Mahomes too. So they're actually they're playing against each other on his team, and he's gonna hope for a big shootout. But he's gonna need a lot of points.
Yeah, I mean, looking down at, he's definitely not. I wouldn't say he's cooked because you still have some big players here. Derrick Henry is probably going to go off this weekend against the Giants, who are at this point is like the tank is for real. I'm sure they'll try to do their best to give it some sort of a show, but Derrick Henry is more than likely going to be able to run at will. That's reality, which will be good. James Cook though and I have James Cook in the other league. I think he's gonna face a problem in Detroit. Detroit has been just playing great football, have been all season. Definitely a heavy Super Bowl favorite, for sure. We've all been seeing the memes. The Super Bowl we want to see, the Super Bowl we're probably going to get.
Right.
Everybody would love to see Detroit and Buffalo or a combination like that in the Super Bowl, but it's more than likely it's going to wind up being the Eagles and Kansas City is the Super Bowl nobody wants, except unless you're a Chiefs or Eagles fan. But I do feel like he's going to have, I don't know. I last week he was barely used in the game script at all, and he really didn't play, he was barely used. It was the Josh Allen show last week. So I don't know if we're going to get a similar thing this week, where it's going to be the Josh Allen show and very little James Cook usage, mostly going to air the most of the game.
Well, I think that although Detroit is a super tough defense to play against, Buffalo's offense is very, very good. And I don't think Josh Allen is going to be able to do what he did last week or the week before. They're going to need to spread their offensive weapons and rely on the running game as well as the passing game. So I actually think James Cook is going to have a better game than the matchup here says, because Detroit is such a difficult defense to play against. So I think there is hope here for Moose Knuckles and for all those James Cook managers. I think that he probably will end up having a decent game.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier with Derrick Henry, though, this is the game, unfortunately for all of us Giants fans out there, this is the game where Derrick Henry is going to try to catch up to Barkley and put up those yards and get those touchdowns. And it's a soft team that isn't really putting up a strong fight. So that's probably where he's going to try to shoot for those stats.
Yeah, if I was a Derrick Henry owner, I would be really excited this weekend, especially if you're in playoffs, because this is the week this is why you drafted Derrick Henry, and this is the matchup that is just so juicy that you could honestly, if you're Baltimore, it's like I wouldn't even let Lamar just let Derrick Henry do his thing. Give Lamar a break. He's got enough stats. Let Derrick Henry go hog wild.
Yeah, exactly. Looking at Sharkbait's team a little bit more now.
Yeah.
Sharkbait's got a really good team. I really like his options.
I do too.
He's starting. If you look at the lineup, he's going with Terry McLaurin, who's been great this season.
Been great.
And Cortland Sutton, who's had a really positive season compared to his previous years, paired with the quarterback that Sharkbait is starting, Bo Nix, the rookie quarterback,
who's just been, right now, still he's in the conversation of rookie of the year. I think it's going to be between him and Jalen Daniels for sure.
Yeah. And if you look at the rest of Sharkbait's team there on the running back end, he's started already Kyron Williams.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Bijan Robinson.
Right.
And in the flex spot, he's starting Chase Brown, which is definitely a guy that I would start if I had him on my team as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you are leaving Chase Brown on your bench, stop that nonsense right now. Get that man in your starting lineup. Do not sleep on Chase Brown.
Yeah. So these are all really, really strong options that Dan has been able to plug into his starting lineup, which leaves him to put players like Tyreek Hill on his bench for a playoff game.
Know.
Isn't
which is
that
wild.
Insane? Yeah.
It's wild to me, but it makes sense. It makes sense.
It does.
He's got a decent bench, as far as depth goes, which is great. But a Tyreek Hill, who definitely is a number one, he's a first round draft pick, is on his bench.
It is crazy.
It's a bold move, but it makes sense because I would definitely go with the stack up top for sure. And as you said, McLaurin's been having a great season. So, and I wouldn't not start the running backs. I like Chase Brown in the flex.
Same.
I think that his lineup, I wouldn't touch this lineup. I think it's great. It's nice to know that if something happens, you've got that. If you got to make a move, potentially, if the timing's right. But I don't see there being a need to make a move because all these guys are not even on an injury report. So.
Right. And I think the thing about Sharkbait's team is not only for this week, but he's got great depth. He's really got a strong team. I don't think the 7-7 record is really truthful to what his team potential is.
Right.
He's got so many great options that he's even got a great bench. Kirk Cousins not in his starting lineup, and I know Cousins has been a little controversial this season because of his play, but for fantasy reasons, he's been a strong option.
He puts up points.
These past few weeks, he definitely hasn't gotten it done. So I totally get why somebody would want to bench him. And lucky for Sharkbait, he had really good options there with Sam Darnold and Bo Nix to be able to do that. But I do like Sharkbait's potential, not only for this week, but for the rest of the season. He will be a very, very tough contender. And I think for this week here, my pick is going to go with Sharkbait.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to concur with that one. I like Sharkbait's chances here this week. I like the lineup. I like the players he's got going. I think Moose Knuckles, I think we might be having a different conversation if Moose Knuckles wide receivers had performed and given him the points. But unfortunately for Moose Knuckles, it's not the performance you wanted out of your starting guys in those really important spots. We'll see if any of his other players can make up for the deficit, but I do feel like it's not going to be enough. And just when you look at the firepower on the other side right now, it might be a pretty decisive victory. But anything can happen. But I am going to go with Sharkbait as well. That's my pick.
Very good. Very good. All right. So that'll be our pick here for this playoff matchup. These are two previous champions, Moose Knuckles and Sharkbait. Moose Knuckles has 5 titles in the Dirt League. Sharkbait has 1.
Okay.
In our previous matchup, I didn't bring that up, but that was something I was actually talking to Moose Knuckles about, John, earlier last week. Of the 6 teams, we have 4 previous champs and 2 brand new teams, which are going to be playing each other in the other bracket here. A Swift Kick of Love and Killer Beers will be shooting to get their first title. And I'm one of those guys that really likes to see those teams that haven't gotten it before get theirs. So after my team, one of the Vaglios is hopefully, if I don't get it, that's the team who I want to put their name on the trophy this season.
Well, thank you. And so either way, you're facing a Vaglio next week.
Yes, that's so it's not necessarily set in stone. If Sharkbait wins, yes, I will be facing the winner of the Vaglio Bowl. Now, if Moose Knuckles wins, then because of reseeding, the number 2 seed is gonna play the number 3 seed, and whichever of you or your brother gets the win would play against Pam. That would be
all right.
Yeah, Bodie McBoatface would be
Bodie McBoatface. All right.
Yeah. So all right, so there you have it. That's our Dirt League matchup for the championship bracket. We have some really, really crucial toilet bowl matchups as well. I don't know if we want to look at
let's bring those up real quick. And once again, just a reminder, guys, if you want or have any questions you want to ask about start, sit, whatever, let us know. And we will do our best to help you out. I know this is a crucial week. It's playoffs. So if you are going back and forth, you may have some people on your bench you don't know. Feel free to pop it into the chat. And if you're watching, pop it into the chat. If you want to call, if you're listening in on Radio Garden State, you can call in at 862-243-2064. That's 862-243-2064. All right. So let's look at our consolation bracket for the toilet bowl.
All right. So we've got 2 games that we're looking at, BMF and Ginger Ninja on a bye. So let's take a look at the game between Manja and the Sicilians first.
Okay, here we go. Looking at this. So the former champ, or I would say, I guess the current champ, because the season's not over yet. It hasn't passed. So she's still the champ. But sitting in the 8th spot at 6-8, playing Tina's team, the Sicilians, at 5-9, sitting in the number 9 spot. Right now, the projections are very, very even.
Yes, it's a very, very close matchup for the moment. And we're looking at quarterbacks like Cooper Rush versus Russell Wilson there at the top.
Yep.
Jordan Addison, who exploded last week for 35 points against Justin Jefferson, his teammate. That's actually a really interesting matchup to look at from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah.
And the rest of the teams look pretty good. The rest of the team starting lineup here is very, very interesting, and I think evenly balanced. That's why the projections are the way they are right now.
Yeah.
Is there anyone on either of these teams that catches your attention? I'm looking at Tina's bench, and I see a couple of big names that we typically don't see on the bench. But
Yeah.
again, these are times where sometimes stuff like this happens. Kenneth Walker not able to play.
Nope, not your play.
DK Metcalf maybe just not the best option this week.
Nope. Zach Ertz. Tina's had a lot of luck with tight ends this year. I mean, it wasn't enough to get her into the playoffs, but definitely when you look at who she's got and one of her big playmakers, and this is one we were talking about even last week, is and I have him, Johnny Smith. He's had a great season. He's been I think right behind Tyreek Hill. He's been one of his favorite targets, and the guy's been great. I mean, he's been a really, really productive tight end. So if you're going to ask me who's going to stand out, I say Johnny Smith, and also Chuba Hubbard has been pretty solid too over the last few games, and I think those are two really big standout players without looking at some of the other marquee guys that she's got on her team. But those are two to me that I'm definitely queuing in on and could be a good difference maker in this matchup.
For sure. Yeah. John has been outstanding. He's been the best tight end over the past 4 weeks. He's been the tight end 4 on the season.
Yeah.
And he's the lead receiver right now for Miami. So that's definitely the tight end I would go with as well.
Absolutely.
The rest of these matchups here that we have with the different players, they are definitely strong plays, but these two managers are going to need these players to come through big time in order to get a win, because it's a close one here. Our projection is 125 to 129. So we're going to need to see guys like Chuba Hubbard or James Conner really, really deliver this week. They've got some favorable matchups. Hubbard is going against Dallas, while James Conner is playing New England. These are favorable games where these players can produce. But some of the other guys, like, we're looking at Manja starting Travis Etienne and the Sicilians starting Kendre Miller. These are guys that we're not used to seeing every week put up big points. No. So this is the week where these two teams will need those guys to score some points for them, maybe get it into the end zone.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at Tina's bench, I mean, she doesn't really have many other options there at running back because, I mean, Kenneth Walker, doubtful, not playing. Her only other option is Justice Hill, which, he's playing against the Giants. It doesn't mean he might not see some action there because it's such a soft matchup, and Derrick Henry goes out, he gets his whatever. They wind up saying, you know what, let's pull him out, let's rest him, and now Justice Hill's taking garbage time snaps. So potential, you may want to look at that as a swap, but but I mean, I don't know, it's a tough decision there because that's a big what if. But I mean, versus him or Kendre Miller, I don't know. I mean, I might go for the Justice Hill swap out actually.
Yeah, I can see how that could play out that way. Exactly the way you said. Justice Hill might get some mop up duty, come in the third quarter, fourth quarter to clean up and get some garbage time points. So I could totally see how that might play out if somebody chose to start him.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my only move I'm seeing when we talk about the bench. But either way, I mean, I look at this and I feel like, unfortunately, I'm gonna say for the champ, I feel like this is not gonna be going in the champ's favor. I feel like the Sicilians has got the slight edge on this one in just looking at what she's got. I also like the Russell Wilson start. I mean, Cooper Rush is going into Carolina. Carolina's not been great, but also Carolina's been playing tough the last few weeks though too. So, they've been seeing they look alive. That the Carolina and Russell Wilson, he's going into Philly. Philly's been tough as hell, as well. But Russell Wilson's been playing pretty good ball, so we'll see. But I don't know. I'm gonna go with the Sicilians as my pick.
Very good. I think I'm gonna go with the Sicilians as well.
Okay.
I think the champ is gonna have a tough week here, and good luck to both of these teams. But,
absolutely.
The Sicilians will be my pick.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Now let's go over to our final matchup in the consolation round, which is Primo de los Matador. Primo de los Matador playing against Show Me Your touchdowns. Mikey's team, Primo de los Matadors, 6 and 8 in the 7th spot. So it was just on, just on the outside looking in, didn't make it into the top 6. And then show me your touchdown, sitting in that 10th spot, Chris Carr's team with a 4-10 record, who is also currently the current holder of the poop trophy.
That's right. Trying
I
to get
know
that
that,
thing shipped
yeah,
out.
he would like to get the stink of the poop trophy out of his house, get that shipped out. But looking at this, I mean, what do you think? I mean, look at a quarterback matchup, first of all. Josh Allen versus Joe Burrow.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Two teams that have really, really good players, and they would want to have players like any team in the championship bracket would want to have players like Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. But it didn't work out for Primo de los Matador or Chris. Show me your touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
They're facing each other here in this playoff game. And, these two guys are Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. Those are guys that if they have one of those big, big boom weeks, they could win your matchup and they could get you out of this bracket. This bracket, again, is a bracket that has teams advance as they continue to lose. So all it takes is one win. If you get an explosive 50 or 60 point game out of Josh Allen, well, congrats. You made yourself out of the bracket.
You're out. That's the thing. You want to be out of this bracket.
Yes, you do. You definitely do. But great players to start. I really like Primo de los Matadors team. I think that, things maybe didn't work out during a few of those weeks earlier on in the season, but he's got a super strong team. If you ask me, Rico Dowdle finally claiming that starting running back role in Dallas and putting up great points. They're giving him the rock all day, and he's putting up a lot of yards. Rashad White had to split time with Bucky Irving, which is also on Primo de los Matadors team. But as of late, Bucky Irving had some health issues that held him to the side, and Rashad White benefited from that. So also a great start this week, if you ask me. Cade Otton has kind of been maybe fading a little bit. He had some strong performances.
He had a good
earlier
start
in the season.
Yeah,
but
very strong start.
Not so much as of late. I wouldn't blame anyone out there who's a Cade Otton manager if they were trying to find a pivot option. But tight end is scarce. It's really tough with tight end. So if you have Cade Otton and you choose to continue to start him, no shame on that. He's bound for a bounce back game, and I think there is a chance that this week he could get into the end zone. So why not start him here?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you got to go with it.
Yep, absolutely. On Show Me Your Touchdowns team, Chris, do you see any players that catch your eye? Any start players here that you would want to have on your team, or perhaps that you think might be like the riskiest starting option that Chris is plugging into his lineup?
I mean, Tajee Spears is not a guy that's been pretty reliable. I mean, but I don't know what other options he has here. I mean, Devin Singletary is on his, he doesn't have a lot there. And of course he was a CMC owner, which, I don't know why and if CMC even ever comes back again, I don't know how anybody would ever draft CMC again. You get like 1 or 2 good games out of him, and then the guy's hurt again. And, it's unfortunate because he is an excellent player, but he cannot stay healthy. And I never want to say never. You see guys bounce back all the time, come back from amazing, injuries and have amazing careers. But for it's been 3-4 years in a row. The guy cannot stay. He can't play a full season. So unfortunately, Chris was one of these guys who drafted CMC. He had a few good games out of him, and then he got hurt, came back, played basically 2 games, got hurt again, and he's done. So that's a risk with somebody like that. Tajee Spears, I think, is the thing that I might bring Chris's team down a bit here, because that's not a guy who puts up big points. And I think with the projections as tight as they are, you really need everybody to be firing here. I'm not going to say that that's going to be the reason why he's going to lose, but it definitely doesn't help him when you look across the board and you see like a lot of all these guys, they all put up points. Like they all consistently pretty much put up points. And Tajee Spears, this isn't a guy you can really count on.
Yeah. His options are slim, and I think that's maybe why he's rolling with it. But yeah,
I mean, you don't have a choice. I mean, that's it. Unless there's somebody that comes up on the waiver wire, which could happen, which I'd be watching, but I don't know what else to do with that one. Hope for the best.
Yeah, you really do. You really got to hope that this is maybe the lucky week that Tajay Spears, gets into the end zone, and maybe that works out for you. But yeah, he didn't have a lot of options. The waiver wire is kind of bare out there, so that might be also the one spot that I would be very, very hopeful if I was the manager of Show Me Your Touchdowns teams. So for the sake of picks here between Prima de los Matador and Chris's team, Show Me Your Touchdowns, which of the two would you be choosing here as the winner for this week?
I think I got to go with Prima on this one. I like Mikey's team. I mean, if Joe Burrow does have a monster game against Tennessee, which is entirely possible, I mean, that could be exactly what he needs. And then, a Calvin Ridley or Jerry Jeudy has a good game, especially if Njoku's not playing. That could become a bigger target. That could give him more of a lion's share of targets from Winston, which could help. But it's a lot of what ifs. So I'm going to go with the stats, and I'm going to go with Prima.
Very good. I'll do the same. Definitely going to go with Prima in this one. I think he has a super strong team, and he probably will come out with a win here this week.
Yep. All right. So with all that being said, that wraps it up for our matchups. Just as a reminder, the buys, Ginger Ninja's got a bye week. BMF has got a bye week in a consolation bracket. And then once again, up top, you, my friend, have a bye this week in the number 2 spot, and Bodie McBoatface has a bye in the number 1 spot. So those are our picks for the Dirt Invitational Playoff Edition. Just to recap, the Killer Beers versus Swift Kick of Love matchup, we both chosen Killer Beers. In the Moose Knuckles and Sharkbait matchup, we both chosen with Sharkbait. In a consolation bracket, Manja versus Sicilians, we have both gone with the Sicilians. And then the Primo de las Matador versus Show Me Your Touchdown, Show Me Your TDs. We have both gone with Primo de las Matador. So that is it, and we will see what happens. The rest is history.
That's it. Good luck to all those dirt managers, and let's see what happens this week as we approach week 16, which will be next week, our top 4 teams facing off each other.
That's right. Absolutely. And let us know, once again, who you guys think will win. If you're seeing this, watching this, listening, let us know who your picks are. And, of course, if you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with your team this week, feel free to ask away any questions you got, start, sits, whatever. All right. So let's move into our other league here that we are both in. Our other respective league here is the League of Extraordinarily Mediocre People, the LOEMP League. So how did this shake out? So our top 6 teams in the playoffs are the commissioner and current champ again.
That's somehow, right. Again.
Somehow the fix is in. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers sitting in the number 1 spot. Number 2 with Tina. Thank God, Tina. Suck My Dicka. Keith's Cool Team at number 3. Shardy McDennis at number 4. My team, Yoda Best Team, landing in the number 5 spot. And Obi-Wan Mahomey sitting in the number 6 spot. And unfortunately, my friend, you are sitting in the number 7 spot. All Out of Love. Number 8, don't even bother. Number 9, Manja Magic. Number 10, CD's Nuts. Number 11, Absolute Trash. And number 12, sitting in that last spot, It Takes Two at a Tango. And there is, just as a reminder, there is no consolation, there's no prize here for coming in last place. Literally, at this point, you're playing for standing, because we do draft where we finish in this league. But by next season, we got to have something in that last place. It has to be something to really not be in that last place.
Right. And you know what? I actually want to ask everybody out there listening, if anyone has any suggestions, any ideas, any proposals, what do you guys do to determine your following year's draft position? Like Chris said, in this league, we draft where we end based on the regular season standings. Well, actually, not the regular season standings, the actual final positioning
right
after the playoffs are over. But that's something that at least me personally, I wanted to see if maybe in this league we would want to consider switching it up and doing something different. just to see if that changes what the impact is and what the outcome is.
Yeah.
What does everybody else out there do? What does everybody else out there like? Share your thoughts with us if you can. And, if maybe we got some suggestions that we want to consider, we can maybe apply them to this league or the Dirt League or any league out there.
Absolutely. 100%. We'd love to hear from you guys. So, all right, well, let's start diving into this and seeing these matchups. So, let's start with, I guess we could start with mine if you want. We could go Yoda best team and Shardy McDonough matchup.
Let's do it.
All right. So, as of now, still a pretty even matchup. Shardy McDonough, who now, Pablo, do you have the stat? Where did we wind up on points? Because it was regular season points, and I think my brother's team, of course, somehow always managed to win. So he did take the top spot most points, but for a long time, Shardy McDonough was leading the league in points.
He was, yeah. The final here, let me bring it up real quick. The final point standing of the season was Mighty Morphin Bowers at the top with 2,360.04 points.
Yeah.
And Shardy McDonough came in second, just about 35 to 40 points below that on the season. So definitely a super strong team. Shardy McDonough led the league for quite a while in points.
I will note that I am also I'm in third place in that point total. Just
you did come in third place. So your team is strong too. This is actually a super great matchup to see these two teams go at it because they're both really strong contenders on the season.
Yeah, no, this is good. And I honestly, when I did my draft, I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I full transparency. I mean, I knew Amon-Ra St. Brown was my keeper. And I knew I wanted to get Jamar Chase, so I was happy that I was able to get him. But drafting Baker Mayfield, man, I had good vibes, and I listened to all the fantasy stuff going in, and everybody kept saying, if you can get Baker Mayfield as your quarterback, draft Baker Mayfield. Grab him. He was part of the list of, like, if you're looking at quarterbacks that can get it done for you, him, Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford were all on the lists. And I was a fan of Baker's revenge year last year, which I loved it. I loved seeing that guy have a second life and lead that team. And I go, you know what? I'm going to pick him up, man. I'm feeling good. And you know what? The bet has paid off. So for all you Baker Mayfield owners who took the risk and went with Baker Mayfield, congratulations. Now we just need Baker to keep being Baker. We don't need the other version of Baker to show up now when we don't need that version. We need champion Baker to show up.
That's right. Yeah, we definitely want to see that happen. And his matchup schedule is actually pretty good. This week is the toughest game of the three, but it's still not terrible. And Baker's been great. We definitely want to see Baker put up some strong points to follow through with a great fantasy season for all of those who had Baker as their quarterback this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I mean, looking at our matchups, obviously, Baker Mayfield on the other side, Joe Burrow going into Tennessee. Joe Burrow has the potential for having a big game in Tennessee for sure. But when I look down the rest of this, I like my chances. I mean, but Kevin's got a lot of big a lot of big players on his side. Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf. Fortunately for me, Jawan Jennings did not have a good game. So that helped out of his lineup because he's had a killer lineup with wide receivers all season long. He's done really well. But in his his running back core, Bijan Robinson, Brian Robinson Jr., all good players. On my side, I got Rico Dowell, and then I was telling you about my James Cook. I'm a little nervous, but you make me feel better when you were talking about. You looked at it a lot more analytically than I did. I was going more in emotion. You brought in the analytics, and now I actually feel better after hearing you talk about James Cook actually feeling like he's going to have a good shot this week.
I think so. Like I said earlier, they Detroit's defense is great, but the offense on Buffalo is super, super strong. So they can't just stack the box to stop James Cook because Josh Allen will do whatever he wants on them. So that's going to give James Cook some opportunity. I do think he'll have a pretty decent week this week. Let's see.
What else stands out to you?
Yeah, I got a question for you, actually. David Njoku. I know we were talking about him earlier, and the connection he's had with Jameis Winston, that's going to really help your team if Njoku can play through the entirety of the game. Now, he's currently listed as questionable, and I actually thought he wasn't going to play. I read up just now on his most recent updates,
He wants
and
to
it sounds
play.
like he's going to give it a try, but that to me sounds like there's still a risk that
Yeah.
he may not end the game.
I
So
mean,
how do you feel about
hamstring injuries are tough, man. It's hard. You know, that's a really tough injury. You could be out for a couple weeks. You could be out for 6 weeks. I mean, it's a soft tissue injury. Not that I'm a doctor or know anything, but it is something that, you know, guys are feeling good and they can re-aggravate it just by, you know, stepping the wrong way or twisting or just making a play, and all of a sudden they re-aggravated it. And he is a very physical player, and especially at that position, tight end, like, you know, the chance of re-aggravating that or not playing the whole game are there. And so I am now been looking at my bench trying to decide who do I swap into that spot. And it's my flex spot. So fortunately I have Johnny Smith as my tight end. So good. I've got, you know, guy there. I do have some other playmakers on my bench. And looking at it, you know, we were on a whole Nick Westbrook, Ikeine, tear. He came back down to earth last week, but he's still there. He's still a threat. You know, I have Ramondre Stevenson sitting on my bench. MVS, who was doing really well, I was liking him, but now that you've got a rookie quarterback there, or the backup there in New Orleans, not as trustworthy now because of the quarterback. And you know, I got Tank Bigsby, who's going against the Jets, who could have a pretty good game, depending. I mean, I do think the Jets defense is actually going to show up this week, but still could have an okay game. So I don't know. Like, if this was your team, my friend, knowing that Ngokchu is probably not going to be the best play or the most reliable play, who would you swap in? Also, I did pick up Hunter Henry just because he was there. I saw him. You know,
perfect.
Pick him up, get him on the team.
No, that's a great pickup for sure, especially if Njoku ends up not going. That's a great option to plug in there. It is a flex spot, like you said.
Yeah.
So you could literally start any other player from any other position. I would say if we knew Njoku was good to go all game, definitely your best option.
Absolutely.
And yeah, no doubt, no question in my mind. But in a playoff game, the risk of him maybe not playing a full game would make me a little hesitant and make me want to try to find a better option. I don't know if I would be able to find one, but I would at least try. I want to say I'd be interested in looking a little bit more at Ramondre and his matchup and trying to look at how well he's been doing over the past few weeks, just to see if I can talk myself into starting him in a playoff game.
I mean, he had a decent game. He had a decent game against Indiana on week 13. You know, they had a bye week, so he's coming off a bye week, which means he's a little rested. But the week before against Miami, he was awful. But then week 11, he had 11 points. Week 9 in Tennessee had 22 points against the Jets, 22.5 points. That was week 8. So, I mean, he's got the potential, but is it the risk that you want to take in playoffs? I don't know. Right. This is my dilemma.
It comes with risk as well. Yes. Yeah. No, it's not a safe bet. But yeah, it's definitely a tough one. I think that's maybe the most challenging piece of your team that I would have to analyze if it were my team. But hey, man, I wish you good luck with that. And
thank you.
Hopefully your guy has a good game, a healthy game all the way to the end. Looking at Charlie McDennis's team,
yes.
Let's take a look here and check out what other player you think may be more questionable on his end. I think maybe it was Juwan Jennings.
Yeah, Juwan Jennings did not have a good game. 31 reception yards for only 2 receptions. You know, that was a 6-12 game. That was a really miserable Thursday night game for both teams. You know, none of the big players showed up. It was all field goals. The only stars of that game were kickers.
That was pretty terrible. He's rolling with Calvin Ridley at the wide receiver position. Calvin Ridley has been pretty decent. He's had some very serviceable games, but hasn't had a big explosive game in a while. he might be due for one. So look out there as he starts against you.
Yeah, in
It's a really, really close matchup here between the two of you.
It really is. It really is. I mean, the DK Metcalf, I mean, that's the thing. Like, DK has also been pretty good. I mean, they are going into Green Bay. Now, his last 3 games, though, 9 points, 10 points, 8 points in Arizona. So, it hasn't been explosive like he was at the very start of the season. Week 2, 29 points. Week 3, 21 points. Week 4, 15 points. Week 7, 19 points. So, the last 3 weeks hasn't been big. So is he due? Maybe. I mean, he was on an injury report. He had a shoulder issue, but he did full practice, so it doesn't sound like it's going to be too much of a factor. But they are going into Green Bay, and never, going into the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, never an easy place to play, especially on a Monday night prime time under the bright lights.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely not. We have 2 Monday night games.
Sorry, that's a Sunday night game. I apologize. That's a Sunday game. We have 2 Sunday games. Oh, no, 2 Monday night games and a Sunday night game.
Yes, that game that you were talking about was a Sunday night game. We actually do have 2 Monday night games. We're looking at Minnesota playing against Chicago.
Yes.
And the other Monday night game right now is
Atlanta and Vegas.
There you go, Atlanta and Vegas. So on that Monday night game, Minnesota versus Chicago, we've got Aaron Jones, who's been pretty decent, but not quite cracking the starting lineup here for Shardy McDennis.
No,
since he has some really strong options at running back. Just to get your opinion on what you would do there between Bijan Robinson, Brian Robinson, and Rachaad White, who are the 3 running backs he's choosing to start, and Aaron Jones. Is there any way you would try to find a way to get Aaron Jones into your starting lineup, or would you choose to leave him on your bench if it was your team?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, Aaron Jones has been playing really strong, and I don't know if it's just, he's shuffling and trying to think things out. I would probably start. I mean, looking at it, I mean, they are going into Chicago. I mean, that's going to be a nice rivalry game for them.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Robinson's going into New Orleans. That's the only place I would see the swap. I wouldn't touch Bijan. I think Bijan's fine. I like Rachaad White going against the Chargers. Although, I don't know, I could be swayed. I could maybe take Rachaad White out and put Aaron Jones in. It's a tough one. I like the matchup.
It is tough.
I like Washington going into New Orleans. New Orleans is beat up. They're beat up. I think that the team's kind of, over it with all the stuff that's happened to them. I think they're just trying to get through the rest of the season. Maybe Rachaad White. Maybe that would be the guy I would bench. I don't know. I'm thinking about this out loud. I think Rachaad White might be the guy I would bench. I think you got to get Aaron Jones into the mix. Don't listen to this, Kevin, because I'm playing you.
No,
but if I wasn't playing you,
right? Objectively, I think I would do the same. I think I would try to maybe see if I can convince myself that Jones was a better start.
The only problem is, Rachaad White is going to be the starter, and he had a big game in Vegas last week. So unless Bucky Irving's coming back, is Bucky Irving coming back?
He's questionable right now.
Yeah, so it's a good chance
it's not
he's going to be the starter there again, which also makes me like pause. But I don't know, Aaron Jones, man. I think I might go with that one. I think I would take the bait.
I might try to do the same there. So, all right. So for the sake of picks here, I'm pretty sure we all know which way you're going to go.
Yes, but just to make it official, so I say the words out loud, I am officially picking my team, Yoda Best Team, to win.
All right. Excellent choice there, my friend. I am going to choose Yoda Best Team here as well to go for the win.
All right. Look at that.
So far, we've been locked in every single matchup game. So, yep, not a lot of opportunities for us to separate from each other, but that's fine. We're picking winners here. That's what you got to do.
We are. We're picking winners here. So, all right, guys. So there it is. That's official. Yoda Best Team to be picked to be victorious in week 1 of playoffs. All right. So let's take a look at our other matchup. Our other playoff matchup here is Obi-Wan Mahomey versus Keith's Cool Team. So number 6 versus number 3. Right now, projection-wise, Obi-Wan Mahomey projected to win 153 to 141. Keith's got some points on the board already. Had Kyron Williams play the other night for 13.20 points. Than that, no other points scored. Let's look at it. Patty Mahomes for CJ Stroud in the QB matchups here.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Great
matchup for fantasy purposes. Yep. Our number 6 seed here, Wayne's team, Obi-Wan Mahomey, looking very, very strong.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, definitely a contender for these playoffs. And I think, Keith's Cool Team, he had a really, really hot run early on in the year.
Really
but
hot.
The later half, it wasn't as strong. And right now, you can see his projections a little lower. It's going to be hard for his team to get a win. Not that he can't get it done,
right?
But Mahomey's team is looking very, very strong. I think he's got a lot of players that have been doing well. Keenan Allen, as of late, has been turning it on with Chicago. I would imagine that even though last week wasn't his strongest game, they would probably look to try to keep that going, to try to get Caleb Williams into more rhythm there in Chicago. And these next few games for the Bears are very favorable as far as matchups go for wide receivers. So I think Keenan Allen is a great start this week. On the other end, we've got DeAndre Hopkins that Keith is starting in that wide receiver slot.
Yep.
And he's going up against Cleveland. I think that might be a way where he can perhaps offset a few of those fantasy points that Mahomes will put up if the ball goes to Hopkins. So that's a great way to counteract the offense on the other team's fantasy production.
Yeah. Now it seems like Wayne's gonna have to make a decision here because as of yesterday, DeAndre Swift did not play. Still dealing with a groin injury. So based on some of that information, you're either gonna wait game time decision, or you're gonna have to make a move. And he has on his bench, he does have Travis Homer.
Okay.
So you got to imagine that if DeAndre Swift doesn't play and Rashawn Johnson also has a groin injury, and Homer did practice, that the swap could be made.
Yeah, you would imagine that's definitely going to give Homer an opportunity. I don't necessarily know exactly how the pecking order looks there in Chicago. For Homer to be able to get in and to get opportunities, he would need obviously Swift to be out and Roschon also to not be at full strength.
And as of now, it seems that might be the case. Reading this, said DeAndre Swift did not practice through groin injury, and it goes on to say Rashawn Johnson is still also recovering from a concussion and did not practice on Friday. Meaning, according to this, Travis Homer will likely be the backup.
Okay. So I think that's, it's for Wayne's team, I think it's fantastic that he was able to pick up Homer because now at least he knows that should DeAndre Swift not be able to go, he'll be able to just swap him out really easily.
Yeah. And if that's a guy, if anybody listens to this, if that's a guy that's on your waiver wire, I would definitely pick him up immediately. Get him.
Yeah.
Just get him and stash him because very likely he is going to be the starter. And if you're looking for a running back, that's somebody you could slot in. So just pick him up, grab him. At the very least, you could block your opponent from picking him up. It's playoffs. It's time for some cutthroat tactics are okay.
100%. Yeah, great call. Travis Homer's a guy that does not belong on free agency or on the waiver wire. You need to get him on a team in the event that the player in front of him, in this case, DeAndre Swift, doesn't end up going. Now, for Obi-Wan Mahomey's hopes, I'm sure he would want DeAndre Swift's situation to be declared before the game begins, because otherwise, if he starts the game, that's where it gets a little iffy.
It's dicey.
Just like with Njoku, where you're going to start him, but where's your confidence level that he's actually going to be able to finish the game?
Right.
So hopefully ahead of Monday, we get a little more clarity on that. and we'll know whether Swift is good to go or not.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you want, and you want to be able to make that swap. I mean, it's good once again that he's got him. But yeah, you want the definitive he's not playing, so that way you can just confidently make that swap in and swap out. But I guess we'll see. Is there anybody else here that stands out in this matchup for you? I mean, I see Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert down in the super flex spots.
Yeah,
And Lamar Jackson having a very favorable matchup against the Giants.
Yeah, Lamar should be putting up some strong points this week. I have no doubt about that. Herbert has a really good matchup. I think that'll probably be a high scoring game as well because
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is a pretty decent team, and they're also putting up a lot of points. So it's great to have Herbert on your team to be able to start him this week. The one guy that I'm looking at on Keith's team that I'm most concerned about, I guess, I don't know if concerned is the right word, but that I'm looking at with most uncertainty is Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb is a fantastic running back, but he hasn't been able to show off this season. Last week he had a pretty low production game with only 4.8 fantasy points, and this week he's going up against the Chiefs, who have been really, really great against the run.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's a game where Chubb can get it done. I wouldn't put it past Chubb, but he hasn't really done it yet this year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I actually, the way he's playing now is kind of where I expected someone like him to be, coming off of the serious injury that he had, which everybody thought was going to be a career-ending injury. So the fact that the guy is even out there playing football again to me is like amazing. But this is like what I kind of expected from him. Like, I just, no way. I don't know. I just don't think it's possible to have the injury you have and come back and play as if nothing ever happened. I think that this season for him was just, I mean, he didn't even start playing again until more than halfway through the season, and it's not like he just, I think next season will probably be a lot better for him, having played, if he can stay healthy, work out over the off season, be with the team for practices, all that stuff, and be full on. I think you'll get a better version of Nick Chubb next season for sure. It's just, how does he finish out this season is going to be the question. I think that you're just going to get this very uneven performance from him just because he's still coming back. He's still coming back.
Yeah. And for a team like Keith's school team, also the owner of McCaffrey, who you drafted early, who was your first round pick, it really cripples your team to get to the playoffs without him. And now you're faced with having to start Nick Chubb. The other running back on his team that I would maybe consider looking at would be Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards didn't have a great game last week. He hasn't really been doing a lot of outstanding work, but he's still the lead back this week.
Right.
Because J.K. Dobbins is out with an injury. So still a guy that I would want to try to put into my lineup if I could, but it's very, very risky as well.
Yeah, and I also see he's got Kareem Hunt on his bench too, but I would not start him either. I mean, that's a big risky. I would not put him in. Macy's got Tyler Algier on his bench too. Yeah, these are all guys I wouldn't put in for playoffs.
Yeah, they're good. They're good players to have as a stash on your bench.
Good stash, but not playoff starting material. But yeah, I mean, I guess if I had to say who else, I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily take him out. Nick Chubb, I mean, I think you got to go with your gut. I mean, like I said, I think Gus Edwards might be the only other person I would potentially consider there, but
it's a close one.
It's a close one. It's a tough call, but what do you guys think? Anybody listening? Who do you think you would start in at? Would you just roll the dice and go, hey, yeah, Nick Chubb, or would you throw in, would you swap him out and put somebody else in, like if you had Gus Edwards on your team, would you put Gus Edwards in instead? We'd love to hear from you guys. So, all right. I feel confident I can make a pick here in this one. All right. Let's have it. My pick is Obi-Wan Mahomey in this matchup. I think Obi-Wan Mahomey is going to win it and move on. I feel like Wayne's really, both teams are strong. Both teams have put together really nice players, but I feel like I really like what I'm seeing from Obi-Wan Mahomey's side. I do feel like Lamar's gonna have a big game against the Giants. I think he's just gonna mow. It's gonna be a stats game for him. I just do. And I think that's going to be a huge help. But I like everything else he's got rolling here. So, yeah, that's why I'm going to go with Obi-Wan Mahomey.
All right, great pick, great choice. That will also be my pick. So you and I
Wow, look
continue
at
to be
you.
synced.
Look at that.
But yeah, I think Obi-Wan Mahomey, his team, he looks very strong this week. So that'll be my pick.
Yeah. All right. Very good. So, that wraps up our the playoff rounds. In the bye week, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, who's sitting in number 1, and Suck My Dicka, Tina's team, number 2, are on bye weeks this week, so they get to relax and sit by and wait to see who they're gonna be playing after these matchups. Consolation bracket, like I said, we don't really have any prize for coming in last place. We do draft when we finish, but just to kind of quickly review who we have playing this week in consolation, we have number 10, See These Nuts versus Absolute Trash coming in number 11, 6 and 8 versus 5 and 9, and then It Takes Two at a Tango, who's sitting in the 12th spot, versus Manja Magic sitting in the 9th spot at 6 and 8. I don't think we really have to go in. I mean, if you want to put in your pick for this one, we can really quick.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's do it real quick here.
All right.
So between See These Nuts and Absolute Trash, here we've got a really, really lopsided projection. We're currently looking at one quarterback, the super flex spot there, who is likely not going to be starting. So should Dunn swap that player out, the projection would change a little bit. He's got Aaron Rodgers on his bench.
Yeah, which that's an easy swap.
Right. Let's keep that in mind. So it's not that skewed, but
yeah,
he started Demarcus Robinson, gave him a 0, was not great on Thursday night for the LA Rams. And on the other end with Ken's team, some great players on his team. Unfortunately, for Absolute Trash, did not work out this season. So he's looking at a consolation bracket game here. I would say that even with plugging in that hole of putting Aaron Rodgers in the Superflex, I would still be choosing Absolute Trash for the win here.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I feel like that this with Ken's team, he has just enough to get this win here, which would be good because I mean then once again, if he wins here, that would put him in a 10th spot, and that could be where he potentially drafts then next year, potentially depending on how it all recedes out. But he could be at the number 10 spot for drafting. So yeah, I also go with Absolute Trash on that one as well. And let's look at the other one, our final one. It Takes Two to Tango. The number 12 last place Jerry versus Manja Magic Viviana at 6 and 8 in the 9th spot. And quick looking at this, and it's amazing too when you look at some of these teams. You're like, oh my god, these players are on this team. Like, how did they manage to finish the way they finished? But it just happens, right? It is the way it is. But looking at it, I mean, you got Tua and Tyreek, Christian Watson, Zay Flowers. The Sincere McCormick was a nice pickup for sure because basically he's now the starting running back in Vegas. But, I like that. Travis Kelce on there, Jaden Reed, and then Jordan Love. So he's got a nice little stack on the bottom here. And then looking across, Jalen Warren, Josh Allen, Kate Otten. I mean, Jamar Gibbs. I mean, Manja Magic has got a nice team. Sam Darnold, Devontae Adams, Brian Thomas, Adam Thielen, who had a big game last week we talked about. So it's crazy to me that these teams are sitting where they are. But they are where they are. And, I mean, I look at it. I think my quick pick here, just seeing it, I think Manja Magic decisively wins this one.
Yeah.
That's how I'm feeling.
Yeah. Manja Magic actually had more points on the season than Obi-Wan Mahomey and ended up out of the playoffs by just one win. It was a really, really close season for Manja Magic. Her team is pretty strong. And here in this matchup, that would also be my pick for this week. It would be Manja Magic over It Takes Two to Tango.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
So all right. So I think for the first time, we matched every single one of our picks.
I think so too.
For the first time this season. So
that's great.
We will 100% be at a tie again, no matter what happens at the end of this week. because we'll either get them right or get them wrong, but we'll be there together.
Yep.
So that's what we're looking at for the sake of our picks.
I do have a quick thing to just show real quick. So Josh Parr coming in with a suggestion for the last place finisher in LOEMP League. I will share it here. It is funny. But he is saying he is going with a license plate here that says last place, I suck at fantasy football, pink with unicorns and like My Little Pony unicorns. I think that's kind of funny.
I like that.
I like that. Josh Parr on top of it.
Not a terrible idea whatsoever.
Not a terrible idea. I think that's a very appropriate. Let me know what do you guys think? We may have to put this to vote. I don't know if the commission's looking, the other commissioners looking. Kevin, I think this could be good. Last place, I suck at fantasy football. I'll tell you, I'd rather this than a poop trophy.
Yeah. Well, this you have to drive around in, so
that's true. You got to drive around, and it's got to be on your car from the start to the, and it cannot come off until the new last place winner is announced. So
yeah,
it's basically an entire year of having that on your car.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one to deal with, but that's definitely a great challenge.
Yeah. Anyway, I like it. Pablo likes it.
I would vote for it if that was up for a vote.
He's saying gotta be on the back, not in the front. Yeah, I mean, I think on the back
for sure.
Yeah, it has to be in the back because you got to be sitting on Route 80 staring at that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
definitely a great idea. So let's keep those ideas coming. We definitely need something for next season.
We do. We absolutely. Do. So, all right, everybody. That's it. That wraps it up for us. Thank you so much for hanging in there. We only have a couple shows left because after next week, and then we go into championship, and then we'll do a wrap-up show. So there's only so many shows left here. We do appreciate you guys watching, hanging out. Of course, you can always check this out every Saturday, 10 a.m. right here live on Facebook and YouTube, but also on Radio Garden State, where you can listen through the Odyssey app, through the TuneIn app, or on RadioGardenState.com. And coming very soon, hopefully in time for Christmas, a Radio Garden State app, which will be the supreme way to listen to Radio Garden State. So you'll be able to hear us anywhere, anytime. I mean, you can now, but it'll be cool because it'll be a Radio Garden State app that you can open up on iPhone or Android. So coming very, very soon. All right, good luck to everybody in your playoff matchups. Good luck to me. Good luck to you. Well, you're on bye week, so you just get to sit and relax. But hopefully you guys all have a great match. Good luck to all of you guys. So any final words there, Pablo, before we go on and play us out with some antler wound?
No, good luck to everybody. Like you said, may the best fantasy teams win their matchups. It's been a long season. It all comes down to this. So let's see what happens, and let's hope for some great football on Sunday.
All right, everybody. Thank you again. Have a great rest of your weekend. May the fantasy football gods be in your favor. And we're going to play you out here with a little antler wound. This is the music video that we shot for our cover of the Wham classic Last Christmas. So check this out, and we'll see you guys next week. Cheers, guys.
The very next day, you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to someone special. Once bitten and twice shy, I keep my distance, but you still catch my eye. Tell me, baby, do you recognize me? Well, it's been a year, that doesn't surprise me. Merry Christmas, I wrapped it up and sent it with a note that said I love you, I meant it. Now I know what a fool I've been. If you kiss me now, I bet you'd fool me again. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, but the very next day, you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to someone special, not you. with the fire in his